You see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay, good. As I clicked a bunch of times, it went over. So introductions. Today presenting will be Cedric King, Disability Specialist at DSPS. We also have Bambi Mayfield, the Alternate Media Support Specialist. And you have me, Henry Sanchez Flores, Disability Specialist at DSPS. What does DSPS do? Basically, we're the one responsible for the support in Butte College's responsibility of ensuring equal access to educational, vocational, and social programs provided here at the college. So, as you know, Butte College has a lot of acronyms. So the first one I'd like to explain to you is, what does DSPS mean? Of course, it means Disabled Students Programs and Services. The next question we have is, where are we located at? And we are located in the Student and Administration Services Building in room 238. If you notice on the screen behind me, that is our beautiful Student and Administration Services Building in the background. So if you enter it through the quad area, you'll either go up the stairs or take the elevator up to the second floor. If you enter from the parking lot area, you will come in at the second floor, and our office is located right there as you enter on the right-hand side. What services does DSPS offer? DSPS offers too many services to list here in this presentation, but the main service that we offer is we offer an individualized academic accommodation plan that drives all the services. So some of those services can be interpreting for a student, others can be extra time on tests, others can be cart services for students that need transportation issues on campus or walking issues or physical issues, and of course assistive technology in software and hardware, and we also offer a variety of other services. How much do these services cost, people ask? So generally, our services are always 100% free. Where can I apply? We ask that you go to our website, Butte College, or butte.edu.dsps is our website. The easiest way to get to our website, however, is just to use your Google browser or your browser and type in Butte College DSPS, and that will take you right to our website, and it'll take you to our homepage. And I'll let Bambi explain the application process from here.
Hey everybody. So what I'm going to show you now is really cool. So that link that's in this PowerPoint and the website that Henry mentioned from our DSPS website, which is this site. So if you click on that link or you do a Google search for Butte College DSPS, you will be taken to this screen. It talks a lot about what we offer as a program, so you can get a lot of information directly from the website. The thing that we're interested in right now is how to apply to our program. So if you scroll down the screen just a little ways, you'll see how to apply, and underneath that, you'll see a blue square icon with several different disability icons making up that square. If you click on that blue square, it takes you to the welcome page to our online services. If you're a new student to our program, you're going to want to click on this red button here that says New Student Application. So when you click on that, it takes you to this screen. This is the actual application. It's very, very quick, very simple to go through, and I'm going to show you how easy it is and explain a couple of things as well. There are several of these boxes that are required, which means you have to put something in that box, or it's not going to accept the application when you click on Submit the Application at the end. Other boxes like this one, Expected Graduation Term, is not a required box, but you can certainly select the term that you think you want to graduate in or that you're planning to graduate in. And so we're going to select spring of 2023. Your name, your first name and your last name are both required. And just for fun, let's pretend that Daffy Duck is applying for DSPS services. So Daffy's his first name, Duck is his last name. He doesn't really have a middle name, but if we said Daffy the Duck, we could put the there for the middle name, but it's not a required field. So there's no red asterisk next to that middle name field, so you can leave that blank. The next one is also optional, and that's your preferred name. So if Daffy had a nickname that he liked to be called rather than Daffy, if he wanted to be called Donald Duck instead, for example, you could put Donald in this field, and that would show up as the name that you prefer to be called. So if you have a special nickname or you go by your middle name as opposed to your first name, you can put your middle name in the preferred name field, and that's what will show up in your confidential file in our system. The student ID number is a required field, your Butte College student ID number. In our cases, they're starting with 34935, that kind of thing. We're going to make one up for Daffy, and in this case, he prefers to be called Donald, so that's what we're going to do. It's 7 digits. Make sure that you get them all in there and they're accurate. Your birth date's not required. You can share that with us if you choose to, but you're not required to. But the one that is required is gender. So when you click on this box, you have several options here. One of them is decline to state. So if you don't want to declare that you're a female or a male or otherwise, you can just click on decline to state. In Daffy's case, we assume that he may be a male, but it's not necessarily specified, so we're just going to choose that one this time. And then pronouns, if they prefer they, them, their, theirs, and themselves as pronouns instead of him or her, you would select that. That again is not a required field. You can skip it if you want to. Also, your contact information for your cell phone number, your landline number, if you happen to have one, not too many of us have those anymore, are not required either. But your Butte College email address is required. If you put a personal email address in here, when you click submit, it's not going to accept it, and you're going to be thrown, it will tell you at the very top in a yellow box that this has to be submitted. It's inaccurate. And so it's your email address is the first letter of your first name, your last name, and then 3 digits after that. And then it's at student.butte.edu. That's the format of every student's email. Local address is where you're currently living. So if you're living in Chico, on High Street, or wherever, this is your street address, and we're just going to use the campus address for this one. Can't type now. All right, let's get this in here correctly. It's located in Oroville, in California. And the zip code for the campus is 95965. Now, so make sure after you type this in, look it over, make sure it's accurate, make any corrections before we submit this. Now your permanent address, if you happen to be just living in the area temporarily while you're going to school, you may have a permanent address elsewhere in Nevada or Florida or even somewhere else in California. If you want to use your local address as your permanent address, simply click this box next to same as local address, and then you can skip all of this. These fields under additional information are all optional. You are not required to answer any of them. It's helpful sometimes to the specialist when they're speaking with you during an intake appointment if they have this information. Some of it you may not know. So feel free to skip this if you choose. And if you want to provide what your ethnicity is, you can click those. The campus locations, because of our current environment and being online, these are really not necessary at all, and they're certainly not required. But if you're planning on doing most of your stuff at the Chico Center, for example, you could select Chico Center, or if you're in Glenn County and you want to use the Glenn County campus, you can do that. You can click all of them, as a matter of fact, which is fine as well, but you can certainly skip it. One of the questions that you cannot skip is also required, and is the only actual question in this application, is by law, our department is required to ask if you would like to register to vote. You need to respond either yes or no. You can ask a question in this initial note box down here. If you say yes, you can actually click on this link at the end of that statement, and this link that says register to vote will take you to the Secretary of State's website, and you will have an option, the opportunity to fill out an online voter registration. So, fingers crossed that we've made no mistakes and haven't left anything out. You click on the Submit Application button, and look what we forgot. I did not click either one of those buttons. And so it's telling me I need to go back down here and click one of these buttons. Now when I hit the Submit Application button, it will go through. Yay, we're successful. You're going to get an automatic email saying that we have received your application. This screen allows you, as the student, to upload disability verification documents to our department. There are two things that you need to do to apply for our program to get an intake appointment. You need to submit this online application, and you need to supply us with disability verification documents so that our specialists can review those, and so they're prepared when you get your intake appointment to have that interactive discussion about what your needs are. And we're going to go into more of that in a little while. For now, to show you how to do this, I'm going to click on Choose a File. So if you have your verification documents in an electronic format already, you find it on your computer system and select that file. Then you name the file something like verification. You could name it as something as simple as DOC. That works too. You can put your ID number in there and say DOC. That works. The accepted file types are PDFs, rich text format, plain text, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint. It accepts a lot, and it will take images too. So if you have a picture of a document, you can actually upload that. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Once you have the file named and you've selected the file that you want to upload, all you have to do is click the Upload Documentation button. Up here at the top, it says File was successfully uploaded. If you don't see that at the top, you'll get an error message. If the document was too large, the file was too large, that kind of thing, it will let you know that. If you have difficulty, you can always email our office at dsps@butte.edu. If you don't currently have documentation in an electronic format to upload, simply click the Upload Documentation Later button, and you'll be finished with this process. So, Henry, I am going to let you take it away.
Thank you, Bambi. So hopefully everybody can see my PowerPoint again.
Yep.
So thank you. So let me go to the next screen. And of course, it's going to go next. Okay. So what type of verification of a disability does DSPS need? So at DSPS, we basically need documentation from a doctor of a disability. So one, that could be medical records. Somebody can bring in their reports of their last doctor visit, why they saw the doctor or specialist. In some cases, we also use prescriptions. We'll take photographs of prescriptions. We could also use copies of individual educational plans or 504 plans from high school. We could also use diagnostic studies that have been interpreted by a specialist to show a diagnosis. And in some cases, we could even observe the impairment ourselves in the office or in Zoom or somehow be able to observe something, and we could document that for you. So the next question comes into play. What happens if you can't upload documents because you don't have a scanner, you can't take a picture of it? There's certain reasons why you can't do that. So the easiest way to then upload document or send us documents, excuse me, is by email. If you can email them to us, that's fine. If not, if you have access to a fax machine, you could always fax them to 895-2235. And our Butte College email address is dsps@butte.edu. So basically, what happens after you completed this process? Hopefully you'll be called right away to schedule a phone intake, because right now we're not doing face-to-face intakes. But if you don't hear a call from us within a couple of days, feel free to call our office, and I'll give you that office number and contact at the end. So once you do meet with the specialist, what we'll have completed is an academic accommodation plan at the end. That plan will drive the services that will be developed for you, and you'll be able to request reasonable accommodations to your instructors during that meeting or after you have registered for classes, okay? Now I'd like to turn it over, oh, wait, one more slide, then I'll turn it over. The question is, will my medical information remain confidential? Yes, all medical records in our office will remain confidential. The only time we're allowed to release your medical information is with your signed release of information. So unless you sign for it, we're not able to release it even to you. We would have you sign a document that states you would like your own medical records back. Otherwise, we're not able to share them. So with that, I'll turn it over to Cedric, who will explain the eligibility process.
All right, thank you, Henry. Hello, I'd like to go ahead and just quickly go over some of the eligibility requirements. And fortunately for us, it's a pretty short list. So the first and probably the most obvious requirement is that you must be a Butte College student. Secondly, you'll need to complete the DSPS application online. And that's the process that Bambi just walked us through. So you can tell from that it's not a very tedious process. But if you require any assistance, the contact information for our department will be at the end, so you can see who to contact to help you through it. And then lastly, you have to be a student with a disability, which leads us to the next obvious question. Well, what type of disabilities? And to answer this question, I really wanted to try to emphasize that we're talking about a broad spectrum of disabilities. So virtually any disability that impedes your ability to walk, stand, lift, learn, think, concentrate, or basically any major life activity that's disrupted may be eligible to receive services. To give you an idea, some examples of some common disabilities of students who request services, we might be talking about disabilities such as visual impairments, students who are deaf or hard of hearing, individuals with mental health disorders such as depression or anxiety, communication disorders, ADHD, learning disabilities, autism spectrum disorders, and really a whole host of other medical and or mental health conditions. So the big takeaway here is that there isn't really a set or pre-approved list of disabilities that we're working from. The scope of the disabilities is large, and our focus is really on how the disability may impact your educational experience. Okay, go ahead with the next slide. Okay, accommodations. So how are appropriate accommodations determined? So after a student has gone through the process of completing an application and submitting documentation, they're going to be scheduled to meet with a disability specialist to discuss their disability or disabilities, and then develop an individualized academic accommodation plan. Now, as a disability specialist, when I meet with a student to develop an accommodation plan, the disability documentation or verification is really just kind of a jumping off point for a broader conversation. Because it's intended to be a collaborative process between students and disability specialists to identify student interests, strengths, goals, and then discuss the potential obstacles that your disability may put in your path. And then through an interactive process, we want to discuss the type of accommodations or services that may help mitigate the impact of those obstacles. In other words, to kind of put it a little bit more simply, what we want to do, it's like, what do you want to do? How might your disability get in the way of you doing that? And then what type of accommodations may help to make learning more accessible? And that's really the biggest picture. Okay. I think that's it for my slide.
Thank you, Cedric.
Okay. Turn it back to you.
DSPS contact information. So we have a phone number that's being, even though we're not on campus, this phone does ring to our phones when we're away from campus. We also have a TTY number and a fax number. And at the bottom, we have the website once again for you to go to, look at the information that's there. And if you have any questions or concerns, we'd like to talk about those now. So if you wish, you could stop recording now and we'll go ahead